Don't forget to do three things: subscribe, like, and share.
On to all my viewers out there, the video is out. The video is out, and we have a lot of things to unpack. Tyler, 29, got pulled over for reckless driving. Somehow, there's no video showing this. It's very disturbing. But me and one of my favorite guests, the Ricko Gaither from 77 Talk, we're going to unpack this and we're going to talk about it. So leave a comment, subscribe, and do all those good things. What's going on?
What's up, man? Normally, man, when you ask me to come on, of course I'm hype, I'm excited to talk about, things that we're gonna talk about, this and that. But on this one, man, I'm sorry, man. I can't be nowhere at all, too hyped about this or hyped at all or excited to talk about this, man, because I am really, really upset. Upset, not even confused, man, just upset and hurting for Tyre Nichols and his family. Because what we saw is, it ain't no other way to say it, but it's just complete and utter bullshit from what we saw. And that shouldn't have never happened.
Yeah, it was very disturbing.
Yeah.
And we're gonna unpack some layers behind this because usually in these situations you see that it's a white officer, and
Mm-hmm.
then following some type of death due to that officer is followed with protest or something to that magnitude, and
Mm-hmm.
now we see it's black officers, right? And
Mm-hmm.
the expectation is riots and all this other stuff as well. But people are getting upset because people, I would say people, the media is expecting riots from the black community on police brutality. So it's kind of something we need to unpack and talk about as well. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but again, Tyree, he was 29 years old, and from what I read, he was a good guy. He's
Yep.
what I think 6'3", 100, a buck 50 or something.
Yeah,
Uh,
something like that in that area.
Something like that. He suffered from, I
Mm-hmm.
think, Crohn's disease. He was in Sacramento,
Mm-hmm.
moved to Memphis not too long ago. Had a job with FedEx and was working, and had a lot. I think he had like a 4-year-old daughter or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just foul to see that happen because when I saw the video, it immediately pulled to, um, you know, the kind of altercation or interaction between the 5 officers and himself. And you could see the brother's calmness in the situation.
Mm-hmm.
How all those cops were yelling at him, and he just calm and like, what did I do? Um, and then it kind of jumps to the cops, using profanity, saying, get on the ground. And then they pulled out the taser, and then he takes off. Right. When he takes off, they lose him. They can't find him. And by the way, I just want to point out those cops, they need to be ashamed of themselves. They couldn't even run a block.
Man,
They
come
couldn't even
on,
run a
man.
block, man.
Man, it's
They couldn't even run a block. But so he goes, and then somehow they catch up with him, and it kind of goes to that, and they just show the beating in. It's like, come on, man. The dude is 150 pounds. It's 5 of you guys. It's not no other way you could restrain this man. You
mm-hmm.
had to do that, and it kind of brought me to the mind frame of blue lies versus black lies. You know, you see a person that looks like you, has no weapons. Where's the humanity in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's no humanity in that part of it. When you see someone who looks like you, who you know the roles could easily be flipped. You could be on the other side of that baton or those punches. And not out of the five, not one of them had the heart to say, hey, look, back off. Hey, look, we be a little too rough, or whatever the case may be. And then at no point even offer or render first aid.
Yep.
That's very, very disturbing.
Yep.
Like, and I think it has a lot to do with, you know, like I always say, the mindset.
Mm-hmm.
It has a lot to do with the mindset and how we don't value ourselves or our lives enough.
Mm-hmm.
It's just crazy, man. It's just crazy, man. What were you thinking when you saw the video?
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you, man. When the video first got released, I didn't watch it because this is the reason why I didn't want to watch it, right? Because we have gotten to a point now, man, where I'm not gonna say we. Let me rephrase that. It's gotten to a point now where we are up here watching these. We as people, no matter what your race, color, none of that. What we as people are doing, we're watching these videos, right? And we're watching somebody die right in front of our eyes, right? Not a movie, not, you know, it's a make-believe fairy tale. We know that somebody's playing the character in the show, but in real life, they're alive. We're watching this man die right in front of our eyes. Now, granted, they say he died 3 days later, but when you look at the conditions of this young man, I wouldn't be surprised if the truth of the matter was if this young man was already dead on the scene and they put him up in the hospital to try to see what they could do to, you know what I mean? If that, you know, just for the optics, right? But I brought myself around to it. I watched it. And as a father, man, first things first, you know, you hear this young man in the same, and I hate to go back and it's not a comparison or anything to that nature. But you heard this grown man crying out for his mother in the same way that George Floyd cried out for his mother. And so then when you look at these officers, right? So yeah, what's being reported is that he was reckless driving. At no point in time do we see the officers riding behind his vehicle that shows that he's reckless driving. This man is already pulled over to the side. They come up to the vehicle, right? Snatch him out the vehicle. Next thing you know, he take off running. They tase him, right? Then they say a physical altercation happened. So it takes 5 of y'all to do what y'all did to this man. Then you see at different points of time that this man is down on the ground. You see one cop just like look over his shoulder like he getting ready to kick an extra point. And he kicked this man in his face while this man is laid down on the ground. And you hear all this, my friend, you hear all this and that going on. We ought to break your arm, all this and that, yada, yada, yada. They tasing the man. At what point in time was this man a threat? Then you hear people out here talking about, well, he shouldn't have got out. He should not have ran. He should have complied. I'm so sick of motherfuckers sitting around here saying what somebody should have did. They should have complied. George Floyd complied, and what happened? He ended up dead. Right? So it's always those that say you shouldn't have complied, you should have ran, or you should have did this, you should have did that. No, the matter of the fact is that these punk ass, pussy ass cops, that's the only way you can say it. They was the same punk motherfuckers that was out there when they was in high school, getting their asses whooped. Then all of a sudden, they decided they want to become cops. So you put a gun in their hand. Now they got some hair on their chest. And now they feeling themselves. For them 5 officers, what they did to Tyre Nichols, man, that tells you right there, this wasn't the first time they did some shit like that.
Oh, exactly. And I think I heard some
reports
that I think at least one of them had some type of I guess allegations against him for doing that to someone else.
And then I see this video where a retired police officer comes out and says that one of the guys, and it might be the same one that you're talking about, he reached out to him and they're having a conversation, and this guy's showing all this remorse. He's crying, talking about he ain't been able to sleep since this whole situation happened. He's really sorry for everything unfolded, but what he did was he followed his police training. Motherfucker, you weren't sorry. You're sorry that you got caught. Because what these idiots don't realize, right? They had their body cameras on the whole damn time. Why? Because they did, number one, they wasn't thinking, number one. And then two, they used to being able to get away with this shit. Come on, man. Then you got the police chief down there. She fired them immediately. Now charges done been brought up against them immediately. You know what that's called? That's called trying to save your ass.
But let's talk about that, and that's somewhere we wanted to go as well, because in the past, when this has happened, right?
Yeah,
there's always some type of delay in information being distributed to the public.
Yep.
Yeah. So in this case, I truly believe because they were Black officers, everything was, put out and done immediately fired. How long has it taken in previous situations for video to come out? I mean, in this case, we put the video out immediately.
Yeah.
So, because they were Black officers, I think that was done immediately. In the past, it's always like, hey, put these guys on paid administrative leave.
They sitting at home, not doing
sitting at home getting paid after committing that crime. But in this case, it's like, nah, just go ahead and fire them. Let's go ahead and charge them with everything. Throw the book at them, and see where it goes. Because they was charged with, like, I want second-degree murder, kidnapping, so on and so forth.
Yeah,
it's just a lot of stuff. And the discussion or the thought is it because of their skin? They thought they were, I guess, they thought they was in a position where they wouldn't have to be worried about the stuff that would happen to them.
Of course,
the things they did because they wanted to hide behind the blue.
Yes.
But again, in any situation, being Black supersedes everything. Right?
Of course, yeah, of course it does.
Yep.
It does. But dog, at the end of the day, man, again, she's firing these guys. Okay, yeah, I'll show her a little credit for go ahead and firing these guys, not putting them on paid administrative leave, this and that, yada yada yada. But again, this ain't the first time this shit done happened. This is the first time that they done got caught.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So she comes out and she says, yeah, despicable, tasteless, all this and that, yada yada. Okay, but this ain't the first time that this has happened. This is the first time that they've gotten caught. That's what this is. And then when you see a man that's laying out there, like you said, none of them are sitting there trying to render aid to this man. Come on, man. See what I'm saying? This ain't the first time that they done did the shit. This ain't the first time.
Wow, that's crazy.
And not to have any remorse at all for that man's life. They don't give a flying fuck, because you know why? Hey, we the blue. That's what it is. So it goes back to like what you said, man, this whole program or whatever, man. I'm going to tell you what, man, and this is what everybody need to understand. When people are saying defund the police, it's reasons like this are what they're talking about. But I'm going to tell you what needs to happen. It just don't need to be no damn defund the police. The whole police structure needs to be burnt down and started over. Because what is policing? What is the basis of policing? That's what was used to get the runaway slaves. That's what policing is all about. And all it's done over time has gotten worse and worse and worse. That's what it's done. But yet, you know, we sit here and it's all about, well, you know, y'all say Black Lives Matter, but blue lives matter too. Okay, so they blue, right? But are they black? Which one are they? And then here's another thing. Where are they white brothers and sisters coming to their counterpart? Coming to their defense? So you ain't seen that. You ain't seen the police union come out and be like, hey, you know, we stand by these 5 officers. You ain't seen nothing of the sorts. So my question is, are y'all black or are y'all blue? Because see, you rolled hard for the blue. But now, since you're no longer blue, you are what you have always been, black. And
oh,
see,
yeah.
blue ain't, you know what I'm saying? See, blue ain't worried about your ass now.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Mm-hmm.
And going back to what you said about the whole policing system, right? It does need to be torn down and kind of restructured. And because it's not working.
Hell no.
Not working. I mean, don't get me wrong. In some cases, of course, things are working as it needs to be.
Yeah.
But when it comes to this part right here, the training, down to the selection of the officers,
man, come on,
needs to be evaluated and kind of redone, or the whole thought process about it kind of needs to be redone, because it's happening too many times.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one time is too many, but when you turn on the television and you kind of get desensitized to the stuff, it's happening way too much.
Yeah, man.
We see it all the time, and it's always, well, they shouldn't have did this, they shouldn't have did that. And I look back and I'd be like, you know, well, why when someone else who's not black does similar things, they're always brought into custody.
Yes,
without
sir.
no bumps or bruises, or if they have bumps and bruises, they're still alive. Why is it that, you know, you have someone who is evil to the core and shoots up a school, massacres everyone, and somehow they come out alive? And if they don't, it's because they took their own life.
Yep.
So, it's a lot of things that, you know, we as Americans, and especially Black people, need to start really thinking about and kind of coming together and seeing what is it that we can actually do. Because a lot of times we just talk about it, and then the cycle begins again. You know what I'm saying? It goes up, everybody's up in arms. They, you know, throw out a few crackers, they nibble on it, and it's done with. Right? But it never addresses the problem, but never fixes the problem. It never fixes the problem, because it's a problem that's all around the United States that's happening.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
All around the United States.
Yeah.
It's just wild, man.
Yeah.
But so as we unpack this, man, and I just want to kind of know your thoughts on, what do you think about how people are kind of pushing or expecting a certain reaction from Black people? What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, because that's what the narrative has always been. When you look at things like this, you look at what happened, you know, back there in LA, and what was that, 92, with the whole situation with Rodney King. You know what I'm saying? And our people's burnt down parts of LA with that, right? You look at what happened up there in Baltimore with the Freddie Gray situation. They did the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, everybody's on edge, and they're thinking that, we're going to go, we as black folks are going to get together. We're going to start tearing up shit. We're going to start burning down shit, right? They thought the same thing was going to happen during the whole George Floyd situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the problem was that black folks was out there, not even black folks, people were out there protesting peacefully.
Mm-hmm.
It was other factors that began to turn things into chaos. But see, once again, they're trying to push the narrative on if it's us that's tearing things up. And it's a fucked up situation. Because see, what's amazing to me, man, about this country that we live in, when any other group of people decide that they want to protest, it's always peaceful. Look at what happened on January the 6th. See what I'm saying? That
Oh,
was
yeah.
to them. They was just protecting, they was just using their constitutional right. But then when we as black folks get together and we want to protest on everything, then all of a sudden, hey, we got to have the National Guard called out. We got to have cities like instituting curfews. We got to have all of this. See, it wasn't a black man that was walking around with a rifle that was killing people in Milwaukee. That was Kyle Rittenhouse. Mr. Rittenhouse got on the stand, and this motherfucker couldn't even make a fake tear come down. And he was found not guilty, even though he broke so many laws. But he was found not guilty. But once again, when it's black folks that get together and want to protest, oh boy, be careful, because they gonna burn this motherfucker down.
Yeah, that's sad. It's sad that, when you really look at how the media spins a lot of stuff about us, especially, I'm gonna give you an example. Anytime we come together in more than, I would say, 10, it's either, a bunch of hoodlums, mob, gangsters, whatever the case may be, or a peaceful protest or whatever case, it's a riot. But we look at other people who do it, it's always a spin as if it's not as aggressive or it's not as threatening. So this, it's always labeled something different. Like
yes, it is.
Like you'll see, like, for example, after a sporting event, right? Who's the main one tearing up goalposts and flipping cars, right? But they don't ever say, okay, they're rioting, or
what do they say?
Look at these.
They say those are college kids having a good time.
They just having a good time, right?
That's all they doing.
That's all they're doing. But for us, it's always a negative spin attached to it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, the media pushing that narrative. And what is the real purpose behind that? Is it to keep us divided? That's wild, man.
Yeah. That's exactly what it is, man, because we're always the threat just by the color of our skin. As soon as we walk into a room, we're a motherfucking threat. I'm talking about as soon as we walk in the room. You're like,
which is wild, which is crazy, right?
I just came in here to get me a bottle of water, and you already the motherfucking threat. Think about it, man. How many times, man, you get on an elevator, and you sitting there and you waiting, just you by yourself, right? All of a sudden, motherfucking door open up. Somebody else that don't look like you on there. And they all of a sudden, they feel so uncomfortable. What you feel uncomfortable for? I'm just trying to get to the next level. I'm trying to go to the floor that you're going to, because I don't feel like taking the fucking steps.
Exactly.
I'm not thinking about you.
Exactly. Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something that happened to me this morning when I was at the gym. So I walked on a treadmill, I place my stuff in there, my keys. They have the cup holders, so you can put your drinks or whatever in the cup holders. But I place my keys in there. On this particular treadmill, the belt was kind of messed up, so it wouldn't keep speed. It would kind of skip. So I switched to another one. When I switched, I forgot my key in that treadmill. So, as you finish your workout and you gather your stuff and you're about to leave, you'd be like, wait a minute, I'm missing my key. That's how I'm missing my key. So I'm like, oh, I left it in the treadmill. Well, it was a older white woman on that treadmill at that time.
Oh boy.
Right?
Oh boy.
So I go over there and, of course, I'm not going to startle her because I wouldn't want nobody just coming up on me, especially while you're walking on a treadmill or even running, right? So I go there and make myself seen, right? So I make myself seen and I'm like, excuse me. She sees me and she looks at me and I see the look of fear in her eyes. This is no lie, man.
I'm not laughing at you, man. Like I get it. You know what I'm saying? Y'all are in a public location.
A public place.
It's not. Y'all are not the only two people inside of this location where you're at. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
So I look and I see the fear in her eyes. I'm like, hold up, wait, am I tripping? So I'm like, I just need to grab my keys. I'm whispering so she could still do her workout or whatever. I'm like, do you know she didn't even look at me? It was like one of those cases where if I look straight, maybe he's not there type thing.
Yeah. If I don't look at you, you can't see me.
I'm like, yo, what is wrong with this girl? With this lady, I should say. So then I'm like, hey, I need to grab my keys. Just letting you know I'm not, trying to hit you or anything or do anything, that's gonna harm you. So I'm like, hey, I need to grab my keys. I did that around 5 times. And I'm like, you know what? Forget it. Let me just go ahead and grab it.
Get the key. Exactly.
Yeah, I'm like, come on, man. Is it really that serious? Like you said, we in a public place. I mean, you have all these people in this location and you still get that same reaction of
so I'm saying, man, like
fear.
It's like if you wanted to be ignorant, you could have just hit the stop button on the treadmill.
Yeah, hit the stop or pull the safety button.
Yeah, man, that's what I'm saying. But it's like you're showing like manners and you're being courteous and everything, right? And it's like still, if I don't look at him, he's not going to bring harm to me. If you don't sit your 75-pound weighing ass down somewhere, right? Like
yo,
yeah, man.
It was just wild, man. I couldn't believe it, man. Because I don't think I have a threatening face or threatening or imposing stature. And especially at that moment. At times, you can get mad, and of course anybody can, be imposing or anything like that, or have look like they are threatening. But at that moment, when we're in the same place, trying to accomplish the same thing.
God, I swear, man.
It's just crazy,
man.
We're
all in here for one thing: to work out, to exercise.
Yeah.
That's why we're here. I'm not going to touch you. I'm not going to snatch you up. This ain't no taking type shit. I just need to get my keys so I can get the hell on.
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, you walk. What is it that you have on that treadmill that I want at that moment, right then? You have the secret to weight loss that you're trying to guard or something?
Maybe she thought, man. Maybe she thought you was gonna steal some of her walking techniques. I don't.
That's what I'm saying. That's what it was.
God, man.
That's what it was, man.
Oh, I swear, man,
it's
but
crazy, man.
it's bad, man. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, but you know, the whole thing back to the young man Tyre Nichols, man, is just you know, as a parent, man, we're not supposed to bury our children. You know what I'm saying? This young man was 20. You say he's 29, correct?
29 years.
This young man was 29 years old, man. And like, you know, people that talk about him, they said like he loved skateboard. He just like to have fun, be goofy. You know, he didn't bother nobody. Man came and went. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, and his father said, you know, people said, well, why did he flee? Because he's afraid. And of course, and that's another problem. We as grown men and women should not be afraid of another individual, another adult, right? Regardless of what the fuck their profession is. Doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? It does not matter. Like, I'm not the first person in this world that's been pulled over for speeding. You're not the first person in this world that got a speeding ticket. But now it's gotten to the point now where when cops get behind us, our hearts start beating. We start clenching up on the damn steering wheel. We start driving extra slow. Right? But then it's like, then when they come up, you know, it is dependent on who the officer is. Now we have to deal with whatever bullshit that they bring to us. But then you ask yourself, if you didn't have that weapon on, if you didn't have on that badge, would you walk up to my car and just talk to me off the side of your neck? I think not. That's that. You see what I'm saying? It's like,
definitely.
You know, like, you know, you're in a professional setting. You're on duty. So that means you must be professional at all times. So if I walk up, if I'm a police officer and I pull you over for speeding, I don't need to walk up and give you my ass to kiss. I don't give a shit how fast you was going. Okay. Why do I have an attitude because you're doing 90 in a 45? I mean, hey, you're doing it. So when I come up to you, you know what I'm saying? Like, the whole thing is it's my job as an officer to try to go home. It's your job as the person that's being pulled over to go home to you and your family. Let's make this as quick and as painless as possible. Now, I can see if it's a different situation. I walk up to the car and you are spitting on me, doing all this and that, yada, yada, yada. Right? Come on, man. But it's the simple things that end up causing somebody to lose their life.
Exactly.
And don't talk to me about no motherfucking remorse after the fact. Because, see, man, and I hate to say it this way, and I'm not at all, man. If the family of Tyre Nichols happens to see this episode or hear my voice, you know what I'm saying? Y'all, please understand, family members. I am not at all trying to be disrespectful to your son's memory or disrespectful to your family of what happened. But I don't want to hear nothing about no officer talking about that they being remorse. Because where was that remorse at when they were savagely beating Tyre Nichols? That wasn't no remorse. That was fun for them. That's what that was. Oh, but I tell you what, though. When they go to jail, yes, sir. See, karma's a bitch.
And when they go to jail, all of them got bond. I think all of them got bonded out except for one, I think.
I mean, but that's fine because they're going to jail. They're going.
Oh, yeah.
Please understand that. They are going, right? They are going to go. So all of them are going to spend time behind bars. And I ain't talking about just being held up in city or county for a day. And when they get up in there and when they see some of the same faces that they helped put behind bars, now let's see how y'all gonna respond now. Let's see what's gonna happen now.
It's just crazy because as you were talking, I was thinking back to a time where, you know, like you said, everybody had tickets or had gotten a ticket.
Yeah.
And in my younger days, driving and getting pulled over and not having the worry or fear that, you know, if I don't do this correctly, you know, if I reach or if I do this a certain way, it could possibly end negatively.
Yep.
I don't recall, at least for myself, ever feeling or having that fear. especially now as it is now, right? Because you driving, like you said,
Yeah.
you automatically think, okay, let me pull over, make sure I'm in a lit area, which you always do anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Let me make sure that my hands on the steering wheel. Let me try and look as non-threatening as possible.
Mm-hmm.
You just going through your head.
Yeah.
It's like a checklist.
Yeah.
Versus, I can remember one time back in the day where I got a ticket. A cop came up. He pulled over. It was always, all right, let me see your license, registration. Boom, and that's it. It was never, okay, we need you to step out the car, or
Yep.
it was never someone trying to
Yeah.
antagonize you
Mm-hmm.
or put you in a situation where they were able to do you harm.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of disturbing. Every day you see this, like, and you see people or videos where you have people say, you know what, it's my rights. I don't have to do this and
Yep.
do this, and they get pulled over, and
Mm-hmm.
the cops are getting irritated, agitated because they're not. But I'm gonna say they're making them do their job. Right?
Exactly. Exactly.
So they're getting agitated, and they don't possess the skills or choose not to use the skills to de-escalate the situation.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a lot of times it comes with the job, and to me, they don't really understand that. Now I know everybody knows being an officer is a dangerous job, and to all the good ones out there who's doing their job well, continue to do so. This is not a knock on you. It's not a knock on you.
But let me. I'm sorry, man. Let me interrupt that. And that I understand exactly what you're saying, right? I'm hearing so many people say that. So not all officers, not all cops or officers, however you want to, call yourselves police. Does it say not all police officers are bad? I get it. Not all police officers are out here doing the same thing. Okay, I get it. But why are y'all not banding together to stand up to clean out the bullshit? See, that's what get me. You hear so many people say, well, not all cops are bad, and you got some, you got a few, a bad up, I got a few in the bunch. They done, a few spoiled ones, they done made it bad for everybody else, yada yada yada. Okay, but what are y'all doing to root them out, to get them the fuck up out of there? Because see, then when stuff like this happen, this when all of a sudden the PO board starts showing up, the Police Officer Bill of Rights. You want to come up and you want to protect them. This when your union members start showing up. You want to come up and you want to protect them. Why do you want to protect the bullshit? See, that's what gets me. You see what I'm saying? Why do you want to protect the bullshit?
And I think that's
every last one of these officers understand, if that's my son, my daughter, my wife, my brother, my sister, right? You ain't gonna be wanting to hear no bullshit if that situation happened to somebody that you love. So,
and I think that's another or a deeper conversation that can be had, because you do bring up good points as to why the good officers or whoever it may be within that circle doesn't stand up and kind of call out or separate from those guys. And I would say the short answer is because the color blue, right?
Yeah.
They want to fight under one badge and not fight as separate entities. But when you know something is wrong, right? And you stand up, and then you're alienated and you're ostracized, and all those things. You gotta be a certain type of person to do that.
Yeah.
You gotta have a certain type of character. You gotta have a certain type of everything that goes along with it. Because when you do that, you know, things that come with it, you may not be equipped to handle, right?
Mhm.
So, that's tough. That's tough for them. I think I don't know, man. I mean, like I said, it's a deeper conversation that need to be had because how do you really go about being a lone wolf if no one else wants to stand with you? You know what I mean?
Right, man. Right.
Because I don't know if you remember seeing this one video where it was I want to say I don't know if he was a sheriff or whatever, but
Mhm.
I'm just gonna say it was an officer. He
Mhm.
pulls over, they pull over a person, right? And the guy is being rough with the kid, and then the female officer kind of pulls him back, and then he turns around and goes after the female officer.
Yeah, down there in Florida, he put his hands on her. He choked her. Mhm.
Now, I
I
want to
remember
say
that. I saw that shit.
it was if I recall correctly, right?
Mhm.
It was more than them two just on the scene. But
It was
nobody came to her defense.
to her defense, and it wasn't like he just did one hand. He put both hands around her
Both
neck,
of them
like
pushed her
one
back to the
behind the
car.
neck, and one in front. One behind the neck and one in the front of her throat.
And it's like
Basically, to teach
she
her
was
a
out
lesson.
there, she was out there on the island by herself.
Yeah, to
Like,
teach her a
yo,
motherfucking lesson.
I'm like, that's crazy. Like,
Mm-hmm.
none of them.
Mm-hmm.
But it was also another video that I saw, which going back to there are some good ones out there where
Mm-hmm.
it was a situation where they pulled over. It was some black cops and you know a couple of white cops. They pulled somebody over, or whatever the case may be. They trying to detain or restrain the gentleman or whatever. They cuffed them
Mm-hmm.
up, and then as soon as they cuffed them up, it was this white guy that just stole on him. Boom, punched the kid right.
Mm-hmm.
Man, the black cop kind of put his hand out, pushed him, and they end up arresting the white guy with a white cop.
Mm-hmm.
So it takes more of that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It takes more of that to kind of start to weed out those type of people. And you know, where does it begin?
Yeah.
Where does that start? It starts from the bottom because the top is really not doing what they need to do.
It does, man. That's exactly where it starts out at, man. And then there's no consequences for their actions. You know what I'm saying? It's none at all. Like I remember, man, a few years back, this black female down in Florida, she got commended for what she did. Officer got out there and started acting a fool on some people, man. And he was being all, excessive with his, force of nature on his person, man. And the black female came out and yanked his ass up. Yanked him up and told him, get back. Like made the dude leave from the situation. And she basically was in his ass telling him, this is not how we gonna do this here. Man, you understand the type of backlash that she received from that?
I could imagine.
She received the backlash for showing up a fellow officer. For showing him up, right? But then yet, again, the same ones that's out here talking this Blue Lives Matter bullshit. The exact same ones. Let that shit happen to somebody that you love, and let's see how much them Blue Lives Matter to you then.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. You know it's gonna go down a different way.
Trying to tell you.
Go down a different way.
Yeah.
But I think we're going to wrap it up here. It was a beautiful conversation.
It was, man.
We pointed out a lot of things, and I hope the audience leave comments and express their thoughts and feelings so we can interact and kind of see what the people are thinking about this as well. Because I know there are different views of what happened, and I'm interested to hear what they have to say. But again, man, 7-7 Talk. Can't wait till you put out the first episode.
Yes, sir. Appreciate that.
Again, where can we hear from you?
it's coming soon, man. It's coming very soon. I'm in the final stages of putting some things together so I can go ahead and get my first episode out there. Looking hopefully to have something out, man, within the next couple of weeks. Definitely.
Okay, that's what's
You
up,
know what I'm saying? And then after that, man, we want to keep it as as frequently as possible. So, hopefully after we get our first episode out, then the goal is to put out an episode either every once a week after or 2 weeks after that. You know what I'm saying? So we got to get the content out there and get it going, because it's been way too long, man, and it's time for me to share the world my gifts. So it's time.
It definitely is, man.
Yeah.
And I'm sure everyone will be looking for you. But in the meantime, where can they hit you up at if they want to contact you?
If you want to contact me, man, I can be found on Instagram at my handle, my name on Instagram is @7. That's the number 7, followed by capital S, everything else lowercase, EVEN, Talk, TALK, LLC. Again, that's the number 7, followed by spelling out the word 7 at capital S, everything else lowercase, EVEN, Talk, LLC. Y'all can hit me up. Y'all can DM me, man. You can follow me, man. You can send me your thoughts and whatnot, and I welcome all comments, both good or bad. You know what I'm saying? And I just appreciate it, man.
That's what's up, man. We got
Yes,
the
sir.
block hot once again.
Yeah.
And we out.